Morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, December 18th, 2025, and we're here for a work session. Could we all please rise for the pledge? And Councilwoman Merrifield, would you mind leading us?
Thank you, Supervisor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first item we have on open session today is matters surrounding potential use of town property by the USGA. We will have Matt Charters and Jeff Seaman and Danielle Hurley come on up. And I think we will have gentlemen that are here from the USGA come on up. Apparently you all heard about Bob's golf game. That's why we have the USGA here today. Okay.
Ask him to stop playing golf.
All about it, Jeff.
We like to grow the game, Bob. So would I.
So I just wanted to introduce the topic today. About a month ago, the USGA reached out to the town inquiring about the use of EPCAL for overflow fan parking for the 126th US Open that will be hosted this June at the Shinnecock Hills. And they're here today to present the topic. The use of the property would require a license agreement, a special events application, and a road opening permit. And so they're just coming here today to introduce the topic and what the use would look like so that the public can have an understanding of what you guys are considering.
Very good. Good morning, gentlemen. You just want to all state your names to the public?
Eric Steimer with USGA.
John Ryan Celebrity with the USGA. Mark Hitsey with the USGA.
First and foremost, just appreciate the time this morning to be able to discuss this topic and look forward to advancing our plans here. As I often do, I'll just get right into it. I think for us, as we look at the U.S. Open, as Danielle mentioned, it will take place next June. It's a full 7-day event, June 15th through the 21st of 2026, Monday through Sunday. And really last time that the U.S. Open was here back in 2018. I'm not sure who all maybe participated or came out or experienced it. But truth be told, there's a lot of similarities with what we're trying to accomplish in 2026 relative to what we accomplished in 2018. However, why we're here today is really to discuss the use of the Calverton Airfield as a potential parking lot. And why we're here today has really been the recent developments in recent years over at Gabreski Airport, whether it was 1994, 2006, 2018. We've generally used Gabreski Airport for our general parking operation, but since 2018, anyone that has been over there has probably seen there's been some commercialization of the airfield. Amazon's built a distribution plant. I think they're working on a signature Atlantic Aviation new hub over there. That's really kind of eaten into the airfield that we generally park. So what amounted to about 50 acres, 55 acres of land that we used to use there has shrunk down to a potential 28, 30 acres, which really long-term does just not make it a viable solution for us with this championship. So all that background aside, we reached out to the Town of Riverhead to really discuss potential use of Calverton Airfield, which I think is a great opportunity, not just for the USGA, not just for this championship, but also for the Town of Riverhead, knowing the potential impacts Eyes and Ears Head does bring to the town of Riverhead. And before I kick it over to John Ryan, just to maybe show a few maps of what we're thinking of trying to do operationally or logistically out at the airfield, I just want to share a couple more quick notes I've jotted down here. So with the U.S. Open next June, we are anticipating over 150,000 plus people over the course of the week. That is a cumulative number. I don't think anyone in here, especially us, do not want 150,000 people there per day. That's we're not going to be able to do that. But on a peak day out there, probably that Thursday through Sunday, our 4 championship rounds. we're going to have probably close to around 33, maybe creeping up towards 35,000 people on site per day during our busiest times. With this championship, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, June 15th, 16th, and 17th, those are practice rounds. Monday's always the slowest day, ramps up a little bit Tuesday, and it just kind of builds up into those 4 championship rounds. So, jokes aside, not to say Monday's going to be very light, but it's going to be very light out there. It's what we saw in 2018. We probably had about 30% of the attendance that we saw on a Saturday versus on Monday, and that's just the ebbs and flows of how this championship goes. So, with all that being said, in 2018 we parked close to 5,000 cars out of Gabreski Airport. At which point, that's a lot of vehicles. We're obviously going to be partnering with the LIRR again to be able to establish a temporary train station, partnering with some other local properties in and around the area to park cars and provide shuttle service. And I think for us, Calverton is really that potential new general parking lot for us, that Gabreski replacement, just to set this up even further. With all that being said, the U.S. Open, historically, we're pretty conservative in our estimates, but this is a championship that generally infuses close to 160 million plus in economic impact, economic activity into the host region in which it's held. I dare say, as we kind of think ahead to 2026, we'll probably be closer to that 200 million plus number. And just as a point of reference, we're out at Oakmont Country Club, which is one of our larger sites this past June out in western PA, or Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where we conducted a study that showed 290 plus million of economic activity in and around the area for the championship. Truth be told, a lot of that is seen in the tourism industry. It's hotels, it's restaurants, it's other retailers in that field, which I think for us is always a hurdle, always a challenge out here. We look at the rooms that are available in Southampton. It is limited. The USGA, we have eaten up a lot of those rooms. And as we start to branch out, whether that's further east of the golf club or even further west, as we sit here today, we've contracted over 400 rooms per night during the week of the championship, just in and around the town of Riverhead. There's still some inventory out there. There's not a whole lot of inventory closer to the golf course at this point outside of home rentals. But this is, I think, a great opportunity as we think about the fans, the corporate clients, the volunteers, all the folks that are coming in to enjoy the championship. There's not a whole lot of options to stay out in and around Shinnecock Hills, and I think being able to utilize Calverton is going to help push a good amount of that traffic closer to home or closer to Riverhead here, if we're able to market Calverton as our general parking lot for the championship. So certainly wanted to mention that as the town of Riverhead stands to gain some economic benefit in that sense if we're able to use the Calverton airfield. And then ultimately, I'll just kind of close with this. Probably the biggest difference or biggest change from 2018 has really taken place on site at Shinnecock Hills. We had a more significant build in 2018, more infrastructure, more tents, more hospitality. We're scaling that back, and inherently by scaling that back, if we had, I think our peak day in 2018 was around 38,000 attendees. I mentioned we're going to be probably closer to that 33,000 number. So, when we think about that, it's probably about 15 to 20% haircut in terms of total capacity that we're going to let on the golf course, which inherently impacts our parking transportation plans and everything else. So I wanted to frame all that. Certainly, Gabreski, we parked a lot of cars. We're not expecting to park that many cars at Calverton in June of 2026. But really for us, it's just a matter of a lot of concerning logistics, not just parking, but traffic management plans, continuing to work with the DOT, with Suffolk County, with the local jurisdictions to really build out a plan that we feel we can execute and make sure that we're providing the best experience, not just for our championship goers, but also for the local communities, residents, businesses, and so forth. So all that being said, I think today what we'd like to be able to present a little bit further is really just kind of what our intended use is of the airfield. I think everyone's maybe had a chance to kind of look over the proposal initially, but I might kick it over to John Ryan here to maybe run through some of our maps and kind of the logistics we're looking to accomplish out at the airport.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of just give an overview of which probably be easier to look at it this way first. But using kind of the eastern runway for our parking and transportation operation, I do know that the western runway is used for the drag racing. So our intention would be to use just the eastern runway, utilizing kind of the whole runway space for the parking of the cars, and then the taxiway for more of our shuttle operation, which would kind of look a little more like this, having all the fans walk on the pavement to our tented facility, where we would do security screening and then load the buses to be able to load about 6 buses at a time. The main thing that we would also need to do is open the roadway to connect to Jan Way there, so that we can be able to have our buses enter and exit. We believe that it's wide enough to be able to have buses come both ways there, so we wouldn't have an issue with them being able to pass each other. And then also we've had the opportunity to be able to have additional space for all of our staging of the buses. So overnight, all the buses would stay there, and then be able to kind of, we would have one bus bring all the drivers to the hotels that they're staying at, and then come back and be able to do it. So we're not taking those buses off the property until they're utilized for transportation of the fans.
I'll quickly jump in on the busing front. Working with our USGA's contractor to provide buses, we're estimating on our peak days we're probably going to have close to 130, 145 coach buses providing service to and from the golf course and Calverton Airfield, and that is a fairly significant bump relative to Gabreski, which incrementally, it comes at a significant cost to the USGA to make up those 20 additional minutes, 25 additional minutes relative to where we've been parking. So we are making the investment to make sure that we have the number of buses we need over the course of the week. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Monday morning we're not going to need 130 buses. We're not going to have that volume of people coming to the championship, but we are making some significant investment in our shuttle equipment to make sure we're providing the level of service we need to.
Buses will take, what, about 50 people or so?
About 55. Yep, full-size coach buses.
And then on top of that, everything that is listed on these diagrams are all temporary structures. So our tenting is temporary, the fence lines are temporary. We're really utilizing that fence line more to kind of, as we like to say, the fans are clean coming into the championship, so they'll be security screened, and then they're getting onto the bus clean. And then from there, you can also see that we're for the protection of the grass areas, we're going to make sure that fans are not walking through the grass areas. We're going to stake and rope those areas off, and then also add some signage along it to deter people from walking through those areas. But two other things to note is more of just the fan routing into the championship or into Calverton for parking. We will utilize the taxiway on the western runway to be able to get those cars off the road, and then be able to bring them across. Knowing how long of a distance that is, we plan on adding some elements to make sure that the cars are slowing down and not speeding right down to that connection point on into Calverton. But realistically, we're going to try to pull the traffic off of Sunrise Highway, bringing it up William Floyd Parkway, or off the LIE, kind of those back roads to be able to get to that western runway. But you can see Calverton is 28 miles away from Shinnecock Hills. That red line is that shuttle route that we'd be utilizing, and it adds probably about another 25 minutes to our shuttle time from what it was at Gabreski.
And on the note of routing here, the green lines being the fan routing, cars coming into park, red being the shuttle routing. This is one that we continue to work closely with our greater public safety team on this championship, and certainly we'll work closely with the Town of Riverhead and the necessary parties that need to be involved in these conversations. To quickly note on that, Town of Southampton PD, they are a lead law enforcement agency for this championship, and they're pulling in the mutual aid support of state police, Suffolk County, as well as some of the local jurisdictions, Town of Riverhead included. And as we look at this map in particular, this is really where, the USGA, we know how to grow grass. We don't always know how to best maneuver cars and vehicles. So We have enlisted the support of a traffic consultant, Greenman Peterson Incorporated, GPI as the acronym, to really help coordinate this traffic management plan with the DOTs, with the Suffolk County DPWs of the world, and as on the local front with the Town of Riverhead as well. So we are in the process of really what's kind of been quarterly public safety meetings, but those are going to start to ramp up to monthly, potentially even bi-weekly meetings once we flip the calendar into 2026. So we feel we have a great plan in place to mitigate some of the traffic issues, particularly closer to the golf course, but we're also mindful of the impact that we would have with not just the green and red lines coming in and out of Calverton, Airfield as well.
And just one thing to note is a priority for us is the fan safety when it comes to the championship. So we try to make sure that fans aren't crossing in front of any buses, make sure that it is fully protected from people walking into those things. So you can see those green lines are separate from the red line on purpose. We try to keep our coach buses separate from where the fan traffic is coming into the championship, so that it kind of keeps that whole operation as a different thing compared to our fans entering.
And then last things I've jotted down here, and then maybe we open up to discussion. If you go back to the overview, that kind of has where our parking area is. So when we talk about parking, as you see on the screen, that northern runway, is that the 7,000? 10,000, thank you. I'm going to get that right eventually. The 10,000-foot runway is really where our parking would be. That's where the vehicles would go. And we contract with the group, Country Club Services, CCS as we like to call them, to really manage all of our parking lots for this championship. This is a vendor of the USGA that has been with us since the early 90s. This is going to be, for a lot of them, their third or even fourth U.S. Open, if we go back to go way back. But CCS does an excellent job. They'll recruit locally. Ultimately they're going to be in the market looking for temporary labor, individuals to help support their operations, working with the local schools and all that. But essentially they run or manage the parking lot for us. This is not free for all. This is really coned out, lined out. They're going to park these cars as tightly and as efficiently as possible for us to maximize our space and to really kind of try to keep them more in this corridor that you see up on the screen here, so people aren't parking a mile away, having to walk to our buses. We're going to park them close and then branch out as we go. But CCS for us does a phenomenal job of managing our parking lots, which is the USGA's expense and everything else. Additionally to that, if we were to zoom in, you'd see two little purple dots. One is a CCS office trailer. The other is an EES, Executive Event Services. EES for us is our private security vendor. They're the ones responsible for really the security of our areas. In this case, also managing the security screening tent. So EES, they procure non-divest magnetometer walkthroughs, kind of like what you see at an airport. You come through the screening process, make sure you're not carrying any nefarious items on you. If you are, you're going to return them to your car or potentially be intercepted by an officer. But EES manages the security operation, and that's where we really lean on, I think, Riverhead PD's support to kind of be the backbone there, knowing that this is private security, but if something is going on, that's private security is going to have to elevate that to the police department. So we'll continue to work with the PD here in terms of really building out the proper staffing plan to make sure that we have the resources there. And if we feel like we're starting to tax any groups or any agencies in particular, that's where I mentioned Southampton PD has enlisted the support of state police, Suffolk County, who are ready and willing to support as necessary. But certainly being on Town of Riverhead's property here, we want to work with the PD, Riverhead PD first, and then backfill as needed.
I'm biased, but they're the best PD out there anyway. So.
But I think that's it. A lot of what you see on the screen is just temporary infrastructure. We're not coming in to look to build anything permanent necessarily. We'll bring in office trailers, tents, bike rack, as John and Brian mentioned, stake and rope. A lot of temporary infrastructure just to get it built out and make sure everything's organized. That build out, we have tightened our window from, I think our original proposal was May 11th to come in and start building the infrastructure. We have tightened that to June 1st, and ultimately I've kind of tightened the tear down, clean out window as well, where we previously, I think, shared June 30th. We have now tightened the load out, if you will, to June 26th. So really trying to tighten our footprint overall, just to help manage expectations and cost, not just from a Riverhead perspective, but also from a vendor side of things for us. So, before we up, Mark, anything we missed?
Nope.
Anything else?
Just in terms of traveling from Calverton over there, I see you're obviously trying to take all the main roads down there, but why not, if you go through the traffic circle, why not take 24 down and cut off significant distance? Seems like you're traveling much further to go all the way down the Sunrise Highway and over. When you look at the map, you can shave a lot of distance off by using Route 24. You have one officer at the traffic circle, assist bus going through. You get your people there a lot faster.
Yeah, one of the concerns with us is just the number of coach buses that we're potentially putting on those circles. The red line that you see on the screen, this is probably our primary route. If there is an incident or accident, something that would prevent us from using the north-south roads that were shown, that's when we would start to push over to the circles. But knowing some of the traffic patterns there and the time it takes for some of these coach buses to get from 0 miles per hour to up to speed, could create some increased congestion there.
To better illustrate that point, if you could highlight how often the buses leave and the frequency, maybe you can get an idea of what kind of volume it's going to create if it was to go that way.
Sure. Great question. For us, I mentioned I'll just really stick to Thursday through Sunday here. Those are our busiest days where we get closer to that 130, 145 coach bus number. The way that we have built out this schedule is really based on the expected number of folks parking in Calverton, number of butts and seats, for lack of a better term. At which, and in this case, for us to do that red line commute back and forth, we're really predicting about 2-hour round trip time on average, and that's 5-10 minutes of loading, 5-10 minutes of offloading to the golf course, and then just the commute time back and forth. And certainly understand really from the 24-27 interchange out east is an issue, a challenge in the mornings from 5 a.m. to seemingly 10 a.m., but also the westbound traffic in the afternoon can be challenging getting past Tuckahoe Road and back onto Sunrise Highway by the club. So it's about a 2-hour turn time for each bus.
Bus leaving every 15 minutes, you said? Or more?
So more is the answer. We run our buses continuously. They're not on intervals. So, we'll probably be loading maybe 4 or 5 buses at a time out of Calverton during those peak arrival hours. And I'm going to hit on peak arrival hours here in just a second. But for us, the way the buses run, if there's one person on that bus and there's not another person in sight, we're going to send that one person. The next bus is going to pull up right behind it. So we have the built-in redundancy with our buses to make sure, again, we're providing the level of service that we want. But I failed to mention with the attendance, with the projected numbers that we'll have at Calverton, this is not like going to a football game or a baseball game. Our gates will open up around 6 a.m. and then they don't close until the last putt drops for that day, which is probably around 7:30, 8 p.m. So it is a full day of activity. Our arrival windows are traditionally around 7:30 to about 9:30, so about a 2 kind of coincides with your normal rush hour of a 7:30, 9:30 a.m. And then our exodus time, leaving the golf course, and in this case coming back to Calverton, is generally probably about 4:30 to 6:30. During the weekdays. On the weekends, it's probably safe to bump that back 30, 45 minutes just because we have cut the field to the low 60 players at that point. And due to the cut field, we just have later starting tee time, so people are not showing up till a little bit later and consequently leaving a little bit later at night. So, and that's truly just Saturday and Sunday.
Eric, there was one point that I did want to make too. I don't know if you recall, but 2018, the amount of traffic it generated, when I say traffic, people coming into West Hampton Beach because of the proximity to Gabreski, it generated an awful lot of custom for people down there. And, because of locality, up to you. I think it's going to be we want to make sure that we advertise for the businesses in Riverhead that this is a pretty good shot in the arm. And it's it's rare that something that's of this magnitude happens out here. So we want to make sure that they know the impact of that.
We looked into our office, the town attorney's office looked into the relevant hotels for this time frame, and they're all already almost booked. All of our local Riverhead hotels are all almost booked, so it's already working.
And you've got a bigger town than West Hampton,
Yeah.
which is great.
I think that's a great point, Mark. I think, as we're able to potentially market Calverton as that general parking lot, we'd be interested in working with the Chamber of Commerce out here to be able to help promote what some of the other activities above. The average U.S. Open fan spends about 7 to 8 hours on the golf course. It's morning to afternoon, but it's not to say that they can't go into Riverhead after they come back to Calverton in the evening. So certainly would be interested to work with the Chamber of Commerce as well to be able to help promote what we can through our communications channels as a part of this.
I will say I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to go to the U.S. Open, and we parked over at the airport in West Hampton. It was so organized. The shuttles were great. It was a very pleasant experience. I was able to see that, the organization that was put into to touch back on what you said about how you make sure that the cars are parked, close and together. And all of that is what I experienced when I parked over at West Hampton. So
Keep the vendor.
It's the same vendors.
I had trepidations. I had a meeting in Southampton on one of those days, but the way that they turned, 31 in front of Gabreski, that road, I mean, in the way that they put cones down, man, I just zipped right through. I was like, wow.
You're the guy that ran the cones all over. I heard about you.
That wasn't me. I think that was Matt. He was behind me. But, yeah, so. And your security's there 24/7, right, during the course of all this, protecting
Correct.
your stuff?
Correcting the infrastructure, correct.
I had a couple questions. You mentioned earlier that you're going to be scaling back the tents. Why?
Part of the arrangement we have with the club to be able to better showcase the aesthetics of the golf course. Again, anyone that was there in 2018 remembers we had a lot of white tented canvas and out on the course, particularly around the closing holes, 14, 15, 16, etc. We've taken a chunk of that out, which has its benefits and has its downfalls, selfishly speaking from the USGA side. But I think for us, it's a better chance to showcase the golf course and really one of the big changes since 2018 for us. We all dealt with COVID, 2020, 2021. We didn't have fans in 2020 at Wingfoot. We were still able to host, but no fans. It was about 500 people there per day. 2021, we had a scaled back US Open out at Torrey Pines in San Diego, which we welcomed 10,000 fans during our championship rounds. That's a site that can hold 50, 55,000 if we wanted to. But as we progressed into 22 at the Country Club in Boston, 23 at LACC, Los Angeles Country Club, but being much smaller sites, kind of similar to Shinnecock Hills in that sense. To come back to your question, we presented. We got the buy-in from our leadership team to say bigger isn't better. Better is better in that sense, that having, even if we scale it back, 15, 20% on our attendance numbers relative to maybe some of what we've done in the past, it just presents a better experience for those coming to the championship. I don't think anyone likes to stand 10 rows deep trying to look over someone's head seeing their favorite golfer, so we're just trying to create a better experience on site, better flow on the golf course. Once you add all that infrastructure, it makes it more challenging for people to get around.
I'll speak not on behalf of the USGA here, but as a golf nerd. But it's there seems to be, there are certain sites where you have the Open which are just so prestigious, and just like you've got to have the national championship on a great golf course, and that is a great golf course. There are other ones, but it doesn't have the capacity to be able to have tons and tons of people come in. So there are other opportunities like Torrey Pines, or was Bethpage years ago, where you can get 50,000 people in and no worries. So it makes it a much better experience.
You also mentioned, I'm just curious about the number of cars, because you're talking about the number of buses. Can you give us an estimate on the number of cars you're going to have, let's say from Thursday through Sunday at that one runway?
Sure. Friday and Saturday are always our busiest days, at which point, I'll give you some point of reference here. For Gabreski, I'll just go Thursday through Sunday, that's probably easiest. Gabreski in 2018, we parked 4,700 cars. In 2018, we're anticipating probably closer to the 3,200 number for 2026. That's a product of us continuing to push people to take the train out to the train station we'll build out of Stony Brook, as well as securing some additional parking a little bit closer to the golf course relative to what we had in 2018. So for Thursday, about 3,250. Friday, we'll see a bump, or we're estimating probably around 3,750. Maybe it creeps closer to 4,000, which would continue into Saturday, and then probably drop off a little bit on Sunday back to around that 3,200 number, which Sunday is we always end on Father's Day, so we see a little bit less ticket utilization that day relative to some of the other days, but it kind of coincides with the message. I mentioned earlier, less fans are going to equal less cars, and that's kind of why we're seeing, or why we're estimating that percentage cut, Gabreski versus Calverton for this go around. So.
And how many acres would you be using at our airport, the runway, compared to Gabreski? Gabreski was down to 50, right? How much would our acreage be that we'd be leasing?
I'm not sure I've got those numbers.
It's 42 acres.
42 acres? Okay.
Which for us, an acre equals about 120, 125 cars.
My concern is the roadway. I really think that maybe the highway superintendent should have been in on this meeting. The roads were not constructed for this amount of traffic, for this amount of buses, shuttle, buses going through. And I'm concerned if the roadway will be able to support that without having any damage to it. I mean, they're simply not used to that kind of traffic coming through.
So the highway superintendent was sent a copy of the proposal.
Okay.
And I didn't hear any negative feedback on his end. I don't know if you spoke with him at all.
No, I haven't. And
But
concerned about the roads in EPCAL or generally speaking?
Generally speaking, the surrounding area, some of the route there. I think
Yeah,
those are
and I
old,
think-
those are old roads.
Understood. And in EPCAL itself, I would say, for the majority of them, they're concrete roads, so they can handle way more
Right.
than they can.
Well, that's industrial.
Yeah, so within EPCAL, I don't think we have too much to worry about. The red route, obviously, as the team from USGA spoke to, it's somewhat malleable at this point. This is their quickest route. Obviously, we have our own ideas, which we think might be a little faster, which Councilman Rothwell touched on a little bit before. I'm a little bit more in favor of Wading River Manor Road, just because it's a more direct route to 111, which is the fastest way to get there. Obviously, this is going to have to be a broader discussion with the whole law enforcement team on how they can best manage traffic too, because that's part of it. Not only the age of the road, but how it's manageable.
Well, it's easier that way too. It's
Yeah.
less traffic
More of a straight shot.
from Wading River Manor Road to get to the major arteries. It's less traffic. If you're going to go on 25,
You're dealing with the
it's a
trade
distance.
parade, for a lack of a better term.
Yeah,
or
and
everyone
it's
else.
also, it's chewed up already. The state is supposed to be repairing that, so that would be a mess. The buses would just kill what's left of that road over there.
You said on Wading River?
Oh, no,
Or
on 20, if you were going on 25 Jericho, that would just, it's already, it looks like the Gaza Strip over there. It's bad.
You're competing with more trips in that case too,
Yes.
so these roads are less traveled, understanding they're smaller roads, but there's less traffic
And
conflicts.
there's no right turn. My pet peeve is they did all that construction on Edwards and 25 over there, and they only built a left turn lane, not a right turn lane to get to the expressway, which is where you're going to want to go, to the expressway.
It's a regional event with a lot of regional partners, I would say, so we're gonna have to rely on their expertise a lot with our own expertise, and the team, so this is what the USGA does for these sort of events, so I think we're in fairly good hands in terms of managing the traffic, but not ignoring anyone's concerns.
So that would be my only request, is that you reach out to the New York State Department of Transportation for Route 25 is to be repaved next year, so it's on the agenda, so the timing of whether they're doing that, whether they hold operations for the week of your event, but trying to, just envisioning that, God forbid, they start closing down Route 25, because that's the week they're gonna repave. It would be a disaster, so you just wanna coordinate with, New York State Department of Transportation to when they expect, it's supposed to be done in the spring, so hopefully it'll be, Route 25 will be entirely new road. Time you guys arrive in June, but just to touch base with them on that project.
So I learned a very valuable lesson of road construction in 2013, how to Marion Golf Club in Philadelphia. One of our bus routes did not work that week, so we have begun having initial discussions with the DOT, with Suffolk County DPW as well, to talk through their constructions plans. The DOT has been advised that based on our routing, whether that's the fan routing into some of our parking lots, whether it's a place like Calverton or Suffolk County Community College, whether it's the fan routing or bus routing, to put a hold on work, to make sure that the roads that we are envisioning are usable. So I mentioned GPI, Agreement Peterson Inc. a little earlier. They're our traffic consultants, but they're working hand in hand with the DOT and DPW in that sense. Certainly, if there's any Town of Riverhead roads, as you mentioned, we want to be mindful of. If there are roads out there that are either deteriorating or present challenges or issues, it's probably in our best interest to avoid those.
You make a great point, by the way. There's a case in point, I don't know if you remember, when the Ryder Cup was out in Chicago, and Rory McIlroy missed his tee time almost.
Yes.
And I was there, and because they were redoing all the roads right around the golf course, the traffic was terrible.
And they wouldn't let him through or something.
It was really bad. It was really bad. He sort of run up at the last minute.
Yep.
So
And
there's lessons learned.
someone mentioned some of the traffic control pinch points. As Matt mentioned, I think working with our public safety team, we'll identify traffic posts for some major key intersections that takes place around the golf course, but certainly can expand out here on the local front as well. If there's the light at 25 coming into Calverton, if that needs some additional traffic support just to help the flow of traffic, the USGA is comfortable working with the Town of Riverhead, or in this case probably the PD, to be able to deploy some resources there to help manage any potential pinch points.
We will make it work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're right there with you. I think for us, Mark mentioned, a little bit long-term here. Shinnecock's a special place for the USGA. We come here for not just the golf course, but because of the support we get in the local community. And we know we got our work cut out for us here in about 7 months, but we've already committed to coming back in 2036 for the next US Open after we wrap up next June. And I dare say 2036 will be even more fun. We're contemplating 2 weeks of it with the Women's Open as well as the Men's Open back-to-back, which hopefully can be retired before then, but we'll see. But I think Shinnecock Hills, the club's great to work with. Their leadership team is phenomenal, and we're fortunate to be invited back there to bring our championships. And, as we have this conversation today, we're also thinking long-term, what this potentially looks like from a viability standpoint as we continue forward.
So a question for you, the merchandise, the tents and everything at Shinnecock, it's great. Is there any consideration to put a merchandise tent at the parking area? Even local people in Riverhead, like people just like to buy, and it's the one time you can get that Shinnecock logo on it. So is there any contemplation of putting a merchandise tent, on that site region?
To directly answer your question, there is not. I think for us, we don't allow tailgating, we don't allow hanging out. It's you park, you get on the bus, and then at the end of the day, you get off the bus and get back in your car.
Keep it
and
a
go
moving
from there.
cycle rather than having people stopping and buying and shopping and.
And I think a lot of what we see, and just to provide some further context on that, is I mentioned, our fans will spend on average 7+ hours on the golf course, but they're going to eat lunch there. They're gonna a lot of them will do their shopping at the golf course to get the championship logo and so forth. And I think for us, just to be able to manage the parking operation, the safety of all the vehicles moving through there, it's in our best interest to just park them, get them on the buses and go.
Would you consider towards leasing a storefront or something within downtown Riverhead for selling, the merchandise for the USGA. In terms of just so that people within our area, our region, can come in and can shop. That would add a lot more people to our downtown area. If you guys leased a store on Main Street, towards our new town square coming in, that's currently under construction. But I just know from attending in years past out in Southampton, I mean, it's not uncommon to wait an hour online to get through the merchandise tents. I mean, it's phenomenal. So if people thought local residents, anybody on the North Shore here could get some of those merchandise, to have a site, whether it be downtown ideally, but even, in the Tanger Mall or stuff where we can, locals. So that would be, to me, more of direct impact financially, certainly. By you renting a space, and then if somebody comes to buy, their polo shirts and everything else right there for the golf outing, then maybe they're sticking around and they're getting something to eat and they're walking around and they're walking downtown or other things. I just think you could also help us with a little inject of
Let me take that back to our merchandise team, our merchandise department. I can't promise anything here today. They have activated another. I don't want to control merchandise. But let me take that back to our team and gauge their
I
temperature.
just think, and then you could do it early on, as it's a promotional thing as well. It could be a site where people can purchase tickets, they can purchase all that. I know everything's primary return.
To be honest, it's the right time of year to do it.
Yeah, so
I just have one sticky question. I just want to ask if you can answer it, the DEC grasslands. What's going on with all that? Do we have a permit? Do we have anything for that?
So, when the discussions were in the preliminary stages, I reached out to DEC knowing that they might be the go, no-go decision maker here. But because of our history in the past on the 7,000-foot runway, when we stored the damaged cars from the flooding, we really had no incidents that impacted the grassland birds. This event happens to take place right in the middle of the bird nesting season, which runs from about the third week of April through the second week of August. But based on the fact that this is really just parking, there's not a lot of other physical activities going on compared, for example, to the raceway. And the history that we had in the past where we could show that we hadn't impacted the grasslands, they were agreeable to allow the town to work with the sponsor to put up a grassland protection program, which is shown up on the screen as the rope and stake approach. Some fencing will be in place. I'll work with the USGA, who has an excellent reputation in environmental stewardship, to walk the site as we're getting closer to the date. I'll provide DEC with some pictures and a brief, inspection report, and we should be good. No takings permit is required, which was a big plus to let this go forward.
And Jeff and I have worked on a bunch of things in the past, so we can, we'll make sure we coordinate that right.
We certainly know the environmental hurdles to
Jeff,
jump.
I know.
we do have 8,000 square feet actively available downtown for merchandise, just so you're aware. I know we're here to talk about parking, but why we got you at the table.
And there's adequate parking downtown for that as well.
There is. But thank you for considering Riverhead. We appreciate it. Thank you.
No, we appreciate you all hearing us out on this idea. I think, again, we had the vision going back to Gabreski, but I think that ship has sailed for us on multiple levels, and we're excited about this opportunity to see how things go out of Calverton next June, and certainly any more information or details that we can provide, we'll work with the team here to make sure this group is privy on what we're trying to accomplish, and kind of, Danielle, maybe follow your lead going forward.
Yes, of
if that's
course.
fair, and anything else we can provide or talk to, please let us know.
So, all right, hopefully we move forward. If we do, stay in touch with me about temporary labor. We'll work with the school system on that, and also with the various organizations, in addition to the Chamber, with the Farm Bureau, the Wine Council, so that those people have an opportunity to figure out how they're going to promote during the duration of this.
The USGA has a program for the local communities called our Open Works program. Basically, individuals that would like to be involved in the championship, from a temporary staffing to also your local baker that wants to be able to have some products being with it. So we'll be able to put some contacts together. We become the middlemen for them to our vendors, and then be able to share their information with the individuals. So no promises that we'll be able to get that into it, but at least from that standpoint, we'll be able to make sure the connection's made there for the US Open.
Yeah, I mean, we can get some wineries in there, some breweries.
Advertise, I don't golf, I'm sorry. I'm probably the only woman in the whole room here that doesn't, or person that doesn't golf. But would they be able to advertise, let's say, maybe the local breweries, what, where you have the parking lot stage? I don't know how that works with marketing agreements, but, okay, this is very pedestrian, but how Little League games, they have the banners up where this particular group or that group, just to let the people that are in the cars know this is right nearby, this particular winery or brewery. I don't know how that works, but is that something you've allowed in the past?
It's a good idea. It might even be worthwhile doing some sort of guide that you can hand out. So rather than having a bunch of banners, just
Yeah, this is what's locally in the area that you may not know about.
We absolutely do that. Now, there is, once we start talking intellectual property and IP, it gets a little bit tricky in terms of what's usable or permissible, but I think that's where we would look to build a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce to help educate the local community purveyors, the businesses, retailers, whoever, to be able to, make sure they understand what IP they can use, but also how we can leverage each other to be able to better market what is out there, what's available for folks coming to the championship that are not at the golf course. And we do that everywhere we go. Yep.
There are going to be out-of-towners who come to this who have no idea that we have wine up here.
Right.
None whatsoever. New York, what are you kidding?
Councilman Kerr, I'm glad you mentioned that. As John Ryan mentioned, the Open Works program has been a great tool for us. We started in 2022 with the Town of Brookline, and it just continues to grow exponentially year over year. We'll have to hire north of 2,500 people to support us, not just for those 7 days, but potentially for 3 or 4 months at a time. So there's a lot of opportunity that comes at the individual employment level, but also a lot of opportunity for businesses to support some of our more national vendors.
It's a big deal. I don't think, it's great. Thank you.
Any other questions, board? Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it. In touch.
Mark, John, Eric, Jeff, Danielle.
Thanks, everyone.
Next time we'll have a golf ball, so I'm sorry.
Keep one in the back pocket.
I would have forgotten it. Thanks, man. I don't know, can you even sign one? This so small.
Okay, next up, matter 2 on open session, matters surrounding 2026 recreation rates, beach stickers, and capital improvements. It'll be with Ray COYNE. And the entourage.
Well, this is a treat.
And the backbone of the recreation department.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys know Ashley, this is Doris and Kaylee. They are the front lines dealing with the customers on the beach stickers. I figured they'd be the best to answer any questions on the beach stickers and the customer reactions and all that.
Doris takes all the brunt of all the blame that comes up there when somebody's complaining about something. Sometimes.
Everybody loves
You
Doris.
handle it so well.
Thank you so much.
She's the top in our customer service compliment.
Nice to be here in the seat.
Okay, everybody have a copy, or need a copy of this here? Okay. What we have is, we have a few things we wanted to discuss. Captain Wilsey from the police department here is here as well to discuss. The main thing we want to get through to the town board today is the rates for 2026 on the beach stickers and the facilities. We also are introducing the Yodel Beach Pass, which is an LPR, license plate reader model. But with Captain Wilsey, we're still talking about certain things that we have to both agree on to make it easier for the police before we officially ask the town board to move forward with it. So we can present some information on Yodel Pass today, or we can just wait.
I was going to say, actually, if we have the captain come up.
Yeah.
Also, I have Dawn Thomas, because I wanted to just mention to you, Ray, that we're looking into the parking committee. We're having presentations with the police department, if Dawn wants to step up as well. There are handheld devices that can be utilized all through the town, not just for parks. So that's kind of a program. So maybe just like save the Yodel idea for later, because if you'd like to come to the meeting, it's January 6th with the police chief. And we have a parking consultant, and the device.
Kevin, right?
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, he's been in the Yodel Pass meetings.
But the bottom line is the handheld device can be utilized for all different places in the town, and it would include the parks as well.
Okay.
So I think it's maybe a better idea to go with one unified system. So maybe hold off on the Yodel altogether for now.
Yeah, whatever the town board wants to go.
Because
Yeah.
there doesn't seem to be I spoke with the PD personnel, they spoke with my staff, and they're indicating too, they want to look at this.
That makes sense. Yeah,
It would be one unit used town-wide instead of having to have a couple different units and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal, Denise, just so you know, I mean, that is the goal. I've spoken to Kevin and, so, because we also want to look at the yard waste facility also, cover everything.
Right, and that device, it has all kinds of drop-down menus. The captain's familiar with it too. It takes photographs of the violations, and you can pay it right there, and we don't have to worry about coming into court to pay. So it's a very efficient system that we're looking to do.
All
And-
for that, yeah. The main reason we wanted to get this out is because we have to get the beach stickers in action. If we're not going to move forward with Yodel Pass, or we don't have the parking system ready, we have to order the beach stickers to get them ready. We're ready to go with that, but we want to place the order.
That's why I'm suggesting that we meet the first week of January with all concerned parties, so that we can really look at this. And I already
January 6th.
let Kevin know, and he's,
it is already
yeah,
set.
right, so,
January
you know.
6th.
and
The
then
problem
we
is,
go
though,
plan.
January 1st is when you need the sticker.
Yeah, but if
People
we,
come in immediately
Right.
at the beginning
Yeah,
of the
well,
year.
First day, yeah.
yeah, but the question becomes, if we're a week away, if we find out on the first week of January that we could be a week or 2 weeks away, why not just honor the 2025?
We've done that in the past.
You know, and then implement the new system rather than to, not do this year, so that, we can cover all the bases.
I think I understand what you're saying, but it's going to take a lot longer to get this system up and running and out than the first or second week in January.
Yeah, that I don't know.
It's going to be pushed
Yeah.
off. It might be something to look for
2027.
January 1st, 2027 to actually implement it. I think you'd be better off.
It seems pretty simple to me. It's a license plate reader, but I'm going to rely on the experts too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the universal system, especially better for the police department. We just need a direction to go, and that's our big thing. And we can hold off, because it's only 1 to 2% of the people that actually come in. I mean, they are the same people every year coming in for that beach sticker. They fight for a beach
get their
sticker,
money's
001,
worth out of it.
yeah. But in the past, we have honored the month of January if you have your 2025 sticker. So I guess we'll wait for the January meeting, and then we'll make a decision at that stage. So basically, the fee schedule here, I have actually both models, just in case we did not move forward with Yodel Pass. So we're proposing 2026 fee schedule adjustments. Just to note, for the town board, Southold's, I just want to compare numbers. Southold resident stickers, 30. Southampton is 50 for residents, 40 for seniors, 500 non-residents, 40 daily pass. Brookhaven is $32, per resident with 27 if you get the early bird. So we are at or below the neighboring towns. Southall, I would, since they're right next to us and they have similar type beaches. So what we were looking to do is continue to get within the structure of the surrounding towns and looking to raise the resident parking permit from 25 to 30, senior parking permit from 10 to 15. This is a big one because we feel with the supply and demand, the resident 4x4 permit from 90 to 110, we feel with the high demand of these 4x4 permits from residents, we can easily pass along to 110. That would move the senior 4x4 from 70 to 90. The resident boat launch trailer from 25 to 30. The senior boat launch trailer from 10 to 15. Commercial boat launch, we don't sell a lot of those, but from 3 to 350. Night fishing from 10 to 15. I believe neighboring towns charge a lot more for their night fishing permit. And then we want to discuss also community borderline pass, which we'll do that in a second. So the net revenue for 2025, and don't forget, we're still 25 still going, so we don't have the final number, but this is just about it, was 239,265. Using the same formula, the same amount of people, because give or take, as the amount of people that buy stickers each year, that revenue would go up to 296,304. The net increase would be a lot more because the net increase was considering the Yodel pass fees implemented within the fee structure because they charge $2 per beach sticker.
I have to say, I am not in favor of raising the parking permit prices. I believe that our residents were just hit with some pretty high tax bills. I think that they deserve to be able to utilize our beaches. I know that the permit was increased, how many years ago was the last
We did it in
increase?
2019, we did it again in 2023, I think 2023. So.
Yeah, I'm fine for everything else because those are kind of more of a luxury thing if you have a boat or whatever. But for a resident here in Riverhead, they should not be overcharged, in my opinion, to be able to go to the beach.
So with that, how many beach passes do you sell? What did you say?
On the resident side, it's over about 10,000, I would say, give or take.
So I look at it, I see the perspective that the councilwoman is putting forward, but then you've got this 10,000, so you've got 26,000 people not using the beach, right? So what's happening is by not raising it, those 26,000 people, or their tax is helping supplement the labor that's being used at the beach and within town hall. So somewhere, if we don't capture a balance, the taxpayers are going to be paying, supplementing town services that are being provided, whether beach pass or whatever it may be. And this is why taxes continue to go up, because we're not charging the proper fees. That's just...
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, Bob. I was just going to say there's also a fee for the seniors. I don't want to see that go up.
I'm totally fine with the board, whatever the board wants to do. Our job is to introduce you the numbers based on the market rates and neighboring towns and our numbers, and the board would let us, guide us in the right direction. So we're totally fine with whatever the board decides. I would implement the resident 4x4 permit increase because to me that's more of a luxury to drive on the beaches and the demand is very high.
And that was my point.
Yeah.
For those things, yes, I can see that. But for, especially a senior to have to pay $15, that's a lot of money for some seniors. And $30 is a lot of money for some residents. I want them to be able to enjoy the beach and not feel like they're kind of being
Squeezed.
Yeah.
But again, there's seniors within our community that actively use the resources and go and play pickleball and do other things and use the parks and go to the beaches, and there are others that don't. And so when you have, there's a lot of people that don't have time to go to
no,
parks and do
I
that.
wasn't.
And so the idea is that, sometimes those that want to use the amenities and use the parks, it's a small, to me, it's a very small fee that we're talking about. And we have to run the town like a business in terms of like, what is the cost of staffing the recreation department and putting things in place to have these? And this helps cover their overall office costs and fees and expenses, what we do. But I'll lead into the one problem that we can't seem to rectify for years. We've done great, Bayberry Park, for example, but a lot of our parks are dilapidated and old and need refurbishing, and we need to seriously look in different ways to bring in revenue to help restore some of these parks. And this is, for $5 extra a year, and everybody does their share, and you bring in another $240,000 in revenue, you can actively do a real project in one of the parks with that.
Just on
Can I
one,
just make a statement? This is a one-time fee for the year. It's not like they're paying $25 every time they go. So everything else goes up, and I'm not saying that $5 is not asking a lot to go to the beach for the whole entire year. You can bring your family. We're not checking cars, who's in it. I just don't think that is an astronomical fee. And we sell more senior resident stickers than we do resident stickers.
Yeah, this year the
because
senior
this town
overtook
is
the
a
resident.
senior township. Right, so a lot of the city people or the Nassau County people moved here, and a lot of those residents are on Middle Road. And I'm not saying anyone, there are some seniors who may have some difficulty coming up with it, but the ones who are utilizing it are the ones who are in good financial shape, and I don't think $5 is going to make or break anyone.
yeah, this is the second straight year the seniors have overtook the residents in the amount of sold, and the gap is widening. It was 49 to 48 point something percent. Now it's 49 to 47%. Seniors 49 and residents 47%. Just an FYI.
Plus the cost, goes up for employees. And if we don't follow the CPI, somebody's going to end up. It's going to fall on some taxpayers' back to supplement this. And this is prevalent across everything that we do where there's a fee or there's a fine. And to the councilman's point, if you don't run it like a business, this is why taxes continue to grow up, because we've ignored fines and fees, in some cases for 10, 15 years.
Well, look at how many parking lots we have to maintain, clean, and garbage receptacles and everything in there. And I pay, more than $30 to park at the UBS Arena to go to one Islander game,
I can show you free
So-
parking over there.
But it's the idea, what you pay for one day, one event, one time, and like you say, this gives you access, for the
year.
entire year.
Well, I would just say that,
And it helps maintain those parks.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. I would just say that we are working on legislation with the state, which I believe is going to get passed. It's a carve-out, I've spoken to you about it, right? For Riverhead, so that we will get money to fix the repairs. And the current system only allows for site plan to have residential subdivisions put aside monies or land for parks, but capital projects. We're looking to revise that to have not just subdivisions for new subdivision plots for residential, but also for site plans for commercial over 25 acres and industrial over 25 acres, to have them chip in for the monies set aside to go towards repairs of existing parks. So that would be able to help us. Instead of passing it on to the taxpayer, let's have those industrial developers, commercial developers, or the residential developers picking up a portion of the repairs to the parks.
I'd like to, on a note, and I'd like to thank the supervisor and the town board. The number one complaint this year was Bayberry Park parking lot and pathways. And on behalf of the Recreation Advisory Committee and our office who gets all the complaints, we'd like to thank you for finding the money. That's only taken 15 years. But we have a brand-new parking lot up there, a brand-new path. It looks beautiful and we're receiving nothing but compliments, so I didn't get a chance to thank the supervisor and the town board for taking care of that. Thank you.
But you look at just that one project with, all the funds collected for the stickers.
Right.
It's just, that's what you have to look at.
And I think it's great that you're working on that legislation, Denise, I really do. And I know being on the rec committee, they want a bond for over $1 million. That's how much is really needed. And I really appreciate you two, because I do go by there and see what you put up with in your front line. And to me, you've given me certainty for me about why these rate increases are fine.
I would just say an area that we can work on is the 255 applications. How many people come in a year for waivers for us, for the fee, for the late fees? And that's an area where we can really concentrate on helping with taxpayers, making sure we don't give waivers anymore on those things.
We would like to, as tradition, we put the fees in at the first town board meeting in January. Is it something you want me to hold back on? Is there a certain, how does the board want to direct me with the fees?
I think we need to do it because, again, it helps in the long run. And the parks have always, to me, near and dear, need to be restored, and we need to put you in a better financial place to do that. So.
Yeah, I know Ken was the liaison to the rec committee. I'm the liaison now. And I know what is going on. You got 47 parks to take care of.
The cost of what things are today, a new garbage receptacle and other things, even the picnic tables and things like that, everything has gone up. And so, and do we sit and we let them get dilapidated each year, get worse? Or we bring in a little revenue and keep on a regular basis, start replacing them and doing things. And you guys do great with all that, but you're working on a limited means and limited funds. That's the biggest thing, so.
One more pass we'd like to introduce. We track the complaints from all the residents throughout the year, and then we have like a model at the very end. And one of the largest complaints, the most complaints, and Doris and Kaylee can attest, because they get beat up with this, is passes for communities that are within the zip code of Riverhead but do not pay Riverhead taxes. They pay the borderline taxes, but they go to Riverhead School. So on all facets on the outside of the town. So based on that, the staff got together, and what we came up is what we call a community borderline pass. It's on page 2. So it would be proposed for non-residents living within the zip codes adjacent to Riverhead. We would double the rate, so the pass offered at a single flat rate of $50. No senior tier, just $50 flat out. That would satisfy those complaints and bring in additional revenue for the town. Our estimated units is 225. According to Doris and Kaylee, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. Like, how many complaints do you really get, Doris and Kaylee, on that?
Not always even complaints. We just tell them flat out, no, we don't offer it. So we don't always write those down because it wasn't an argument. I just told them we don't offer it.
So then you guys, the algorithms you wrote down was the top
We wrote
complaint
down the
getter.
ones that were complaints, right.
I received a complaint the other day, which I spoke to Ray about, somebody that lives on one of the outskirts of town, and they have children, they can't bring their kids to the beach with the friends, and she was pretty upset about it.
I've heard that in the past as well. And what I'm going to say is, I don't think 50 is high enough, and the reason why is because, we're asking, they're not paying the same taxes that the Riverhead residents are paying. So I would prefer that we make that $75. because we're not getting that, again, that tax revenue going into, our coffers, and I think we need additional money to get in there.
We can certainly add that up there if the board's agreeable to that. I don't think it'll be a big complaint item because we're allowing them now
Yeah.
to come to the beaches. And like I said, we get beat up on that. We do get beat up with non-residents too, but it works. I mean, our beaches are, and the beach committee and everybody's happy with that non-resident rule. But if we do the community borderline, then I think everybody's happy.
Yeah, and I get, to your point, when I think about it over the years, they're friends. They can't go to the beach with their friends, and
Classmates.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's where we get the most. Is everybody okay with us adding that to the resolution? Okay, and then you want me to then add 75 instead of 50 if everybody's on board
I
with that?
support 75. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah,
Or-
even if you're raising the resident parking to 30 and you doubled it, you're still at 60, but 75 is fine.
75, okay. And
Penalty
we'll
because
track
we-
it and see how it goes.
The residents are paying high taxes, so out of town could pay more.
Okay, the next page is the facility rentals, which is on the same resolution, which the resolution is at the very end. Again, we try to compete with we go by the numbers and then the neighboring towns. So basically here are the key updates that we're changing. Single-use meetings increased from 20 to 25. These residents during the day will still not be charged to use the community center because we do have a full-time staff member that are there and the building is open. This is for anything that's sanctioned after hours where we have to bring people in. So a single-use meeting, we go from 20 to 25. Recurring meeting permits, we changed it from 6 months to 3 months. That gives a little bit more money to us because we charge a $25 application fee, and it's much easier for Doris to handle it on a 3-month basis, quarterly basis, than half-a-year basis.
We can schedule our programs.
Yeah, we have to schedule our programs on top of it, so it kind of puts Doris in a tough spot booking that. The recurring rate would be then $50 per 3-month period. And the existing $25 surcharge remains. Events and parties, which we're trying to promote more to bring in more revenue. From the resident weekend rate from 70 to 80, it's still below the neighboring towns.
Wait, can I stop you there for
Yeah,
one?
sure.
Just, I had a question about that. How many people, when these events and parties, how many staff members are involved at these events?
We usually just have one, the person that opens and closes and tracks.
I'm sorry, and you were saying other towns charge.
Yeah, they charge, we're like maybe a few percentage points below like Southold. Brookhaven charges a lot more. Their facilities are much bigger though than ours as well, so. But we wanted to increase the non-resident weekend rate of 100 to 120. The athletic fields, we're seeing a dip in the rental of our facilities, mainly because they're going to neighboring facilities with turf fields and better facilities, which goes back to our original argument. But to offset that, we want to go from 250 to 300 a day. This is for a tournament. Hourly rentals from 35 to 40. Lighting fees from 30 to 40. Policy changes. This is the wording. We want to define weekdays as Monday to Thursday. We do get confused. We have a lot of events on Friday, which we should, I think, contribute the weekend rate to that. And then weekend defined as Friday to Sunday. That would put a little bit more money in the town's coffers. Town sanctioned groups exempt with approval. So if you're a sanctioned town group.
PAL.
Yeah, that would be with approval from the recreation department. We just have to make sure we check the rosters of people, make sure there's mostly residents on those rosters, and then we would approve that. So we just wanted to put that in writing. Goals and cages no longer provided at Veterans Park. We have provided the goals and the cages, and it takes our park attendants, we have to have a park attendant there, so it costs us more money to do that. So we figured these are private groups coming in. Let them supply their own stuff.
Can they leave it there though, Ray? Like if they're
Yeah, they can chain it up.
Yeah.
Yep. PAL actually does that all the time. This was just something the staff did. We wanted to look if we were allowed to rent the space downstairs. We just, I wasn't supposed to put that in there. We just wanted to thank Georgette Case, because she's down there, and we make it the Georgette Case room. But we wanted to know if the town would be interested in if we could rent space downstairs to groups to have meetings, small events, not parties or anything like that. Would be downstairs here.
I think the problem with that is you have a lot of records stored downstairs in different parts, right?
In the cafeteria?
No, not the, just,
the cafeteria
you're just looking
room.
to use the cafeteria,
Yeah.
because I know there's a lot of other areas down there, just the cafeteria.
Cafeteria is great space.
Yes,
That
yes,
should be
that is.
utilized.
I agree, totally, you know,
We
and
have our EMT classes and so forth that are like from September all the way to April.
Yeah, we obviously would schedule around that.
And you got voting and other things, so that's
Blood drives.
blood drives, yeah.
I think, I don't know,
Go ahead, Ashley.
I've been utilizing it fairly often with our perennials group. They're 55 and over, and we've been going down there and doing, whether it be a meeting or playing a game, or we just recently had like wreath and grave blanket decorating, small 12 people or whatnot. So we've been trying to book things with upstairs to utilize that space. So we wanted to kind of see if it would be something that we could almost take under our umbrella, where we would book, so whenever the EMT stuff, we would know that that's all the Wednesdays or whatever, or voting, we'd know, in the drug test, whatever. But then utilize it more as a recreational space. It's downstairs, it's not in the way of any business being
Centrally
taken place.
located.
Yeah, and we were approached by the Girl Scouts who were like, "Well, this is perfect." One of the women came to the class and was like, "This would be great for our once a month meeting for an hour with the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts, just to offer more community space, because GYCC is very far for somebody who lives in Wading River. To think of that as your community center, you don't really feel a part of that even as your community, essentially."
I think that's excellent thinking, and I think that that's a great way to increase your revenue for your department, instead of the extra $5 for the park.
And we thought of
I'd
Georgette
say
because she's
in
down there.
addition to the $5, because
Machines down there, make some money, sell.
it's, you know, I mean,
Looks like you're kicking Georgette
Yeah,
out.
we want to name it after her because she's down there and that's her space. We really said, you know what, she's here, she might appreciate it as her room.
paper into dollars is always a good thing. I love it.
I have one question, right? Do you guys have like ID cards that for Riverhead residents? Like, how do we rectify, like up at Veterans Memorial Park? So you have pickleball players from Brookhaven Town and a lot of other senior groups that come over and they're utilizing it. We have people from Southold utilizing a lot of the space at Jamesport. Like, do we have like IDs or somebody that if another group comes in and there's just people playing there that you can say, you know, do any of you have a Riverhead ID, you know, to utilize the court? And if you don't have it at the time, then you have to yield it to the Riverhead residents that want to play.
We spoke about having membership cards for years, just the logistics of it. It's a possibility that we could do that, and we could charge people for it and then get the revenue.
I don't even need to necessarily, if it's something simple, you know, if for very inexpensive, we can go ahead and print, you know, in the cards. But the idea is that if there's groups up there that are playing pickleball and nobody has a Riverhead ID card, as opposed to doing the whole, people don't know if it says Wading River, whether, you know, you're in the Shoreham side of Wading River and you're not paying anything in there, and if you're not. But I just want to know that our residents are getting priority at these, you know, this is a.
Well,
veteran
signage
park
could
is a-
take care of that too. If you posted signs saying for, use for residents on a first come, first served basis over non-residents or something along those lines.
And then people say, I live in Wading River, and they go, well,
Yeah.
where? And so you need something, and as a store, so you're gonna stop people
I'm just
putting
afraid,
drugs.
Yeah,
because the
we set
pickleball's
up-
a different animal altogether.
We set up parameters for the people playing pickleball because I oversee that project, and there's rules for if you're there, you finish your game and the other people, and there's waiting things and paddle holders and all this. That's would be hard because they're gonna argue whether, everyone's an adult, so it's
You're gonna have a
crazy.
civilian ask another civilian for
Yeah.
ID, and it gets messy. It's
And
not
South
something
Jamesport-
unless you had a staff member there.
You can't park there, anyway.
I don't think
Enforcement
we've
of it is
ever
difficult.
policed the parks. You don't need a parking permit to go to any town beach. You can go to Stotsky if you're from New Jersey. We've never policed
You can
that.
go to the Town of Brookhaven facilities.
Well, it begs the question, what constitutes a private park? I know EPCAL, for example, has state and federal funding, so that might be a public park. But like Jamesport may be a private park, that are in the town. I don't know the answer to that question. Private to
But it's
Riverhead.
part of the beach and you would need a parking permit for the beach. So that one is like the one that becomes the issue. But they can get passes if they're in a particular class. They get a pass to be parked in that parking lot from this time to that time. We usually give them like a little window before and after the class. But with Bayberry or the other ones, you don't need anything.
Yeah, but at Jamesport also, you could park on the side on Peconic Avenue, just walk in and
There's
use
parking
the
by no permit only on those streets. You still need a permit to park on those
Oh, you do?
streets.
What, on the grass?
I think it's a touchy subject too, though, because we're kind of being contradicting to what we're trying to make Riverhead, and that is a place for people to come and visit and bring their money and do this with just the US Open thing alone. And then to say, like, just at the pickleball court, like, we don't want you guys here because you don't live here first, or it's not such a strong, like, argument, I guess, to say, like, well, we want you kinda, but not on everything.
I don't know of any parks surrounding Riverhead Township that I couldn't go use,
No, they're all.
unless it's a state park or a county park. That's a
And the
little
pickleball
different.
players travel
Yeah.
from east to
Yeah.
west together in a sense. So a lot of them use the Brookhaven parks. They have a lot of pickleball courts. But we don't really get people having fights.
But now it's, I think everyone kind of figured out.
Okay, just the next page is just a synopsis, a summary of what I just discussed, and the pages after that would be the actual resolution that we'd be submitting for the first board meeting in 2026 with the changes. So if there's anything the town board would like me to add, change, even if it's, after this meeting, we can do that before we officially hand it in. And that's everything on the 2026 facilities and beach permits.
Ray, it was always talked about getting life rings down here at the boardwalk behind Main Street. Did we ever, we've been asked by,
We still don't have, we put them at East Creek, because I know that was an issue. I don't think we have them down there.
Don't.
we need to
Yeah,
get them
Jordan
down.
and I just inspected down there for the thorough inspection, and that was
All right,
noted
so
that we want to
We'll get them right
put them
away.
on the pedestals there.
I think it's stolen.
Uh,
When I talked to.
I'd rather risk that than somebody's
Marine guy,
life.
How many are in your backseat?
I know Marjorie Acevedo from the Recreation, she's the chair of a Recreation Advisory Committee. She had come to discuss the last topic. This was a topic discussed at the Recreation Advisory meeting. I don't know if you want to come up, Marge. And we just wanted to bring this attention to the town board for 2026.
Sit
And,
behind the table, Marty.
yeah.
Are you, Ms. Strange, I'm not retiring, come over
Right
here.
there, Marge.
I'm good.
Don't mess with Marge. That's, I've always learned that.
Well, you all know that I thanked you all for the cannabis money for Bayberry Park. However, what we really would like you to consider, we discussed it at our Recreation Advisory Board last week, and we thought that maybe the monies that comes in from cannabis, the board could consider giving us a percentage of that money, put a resolution in for a percentage of that money coming to recreation to improve our parks as part of park improvement. It's very slow, the money coming in from any of the facilities that are being built in the town. And in order to keep up with our parks, Bayberry looks so beautiful, and so does Two Bears. In order to keep up with with beautifying our parks and making them safe for our residents, we'd really like to, get more money coming into recreation, whether it come through Ray or whether it come to the advisory committee, a percentage to the advisory committee, so we could push it towards any of the projects that we need, that we have. We have a list of projects that we've been working on with Ray, and we'd really like to see accomplish something more this year than what we've been able to do in the past. And I really think this is an opportunity to have a percentage of that cannabis money to make the improvements in the parks. So,
Yeah, it's kind of a long list. I mean, there's, from different departments needing different things, and I said this.
Hands out for
Yeah.
All hands up.
So I think that
yeah.
you gotta take the hands out list and make a list and then prioritize it.
I think, the parks are something that everybody in our community uses, and that should be a priority over everything, I think, personally, only because I've been on this committee now for close to 25 years, and I see the need, and it's getting more and more and more. And as far as the increase in the fees for people at the beaches, I have to disagree with you. It
fine.
really, that $5 is going to make a big difference. I mean, I even listened to the PGA, and all I thought of it was you all got an email from you or a text from me saying how much money are we going to get out of this, and how much can we put back into our general fund or the parks. That's my priority more than anything.
Right.
So I think that when you think 100, I think he said 30,000 a day, $10 a day for a car to park there. Oh my gosh! I mean, we can really. This is an opportunity for us. I think we should look into. I'm sure we can contact somebody at the state level or even the county level to find out what they charged at Bethpage for parking. I know that people were letting people park in their driveways for $100 a day in Bethpage. So it's just an idea that we really need to consider
I think what we're doing,
to our advantage.
I think what Denise is working on and what we've been working on in the committee, we're going to see more funds come in.
And I think
But
it's
we won't
hard
throw our
to,
hand in the.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my hands in any pot for the recreation
Well,
committee.
that's a good wording
Getting
for
outta
it.
here.
We're encouraging people to smoke, yes.
to commit to saying that we would give a certain percentage out of the cannabis money that comes in. We don't know if what we've had come in so far is kind of a honeymoon phase of this being something new. We don't know what the future looks like, so I don't think that we
Yeah.
can commit to that. But I do think that if you put forth, a few ideas of what your wish list is, and we see that we do have funds that would be able to be allocated for that at that time we would be able to say, but of course, like we're saying, everybody's got a handout right now.
I think our main goal is to get it on the radar.
Yeah, I think I think that a small percentage, we do know that there will be quite a bit of money, and whatever it is, it's just a percentage of that money that we're asking for. We're not asking for the lump sum.
0.5%.
Yeah, that might be a lot of money.
I'm not greedy. I'll take 20. No, I'm only kidding. But I think if we just have a resolution that, okay, when that money comes in, here's 2% or here's 5% that goes to park improvements. That's not a big deal.
A resolution in the matter that, first of all, I don't support cannabis in the town of Riverhead, and I think some of my other members of the board agree with that. And when you put in a resolution that simply states that a percentage of this is going to go to the rec, and then we decide to put a moratorium on any additional facilities, cannabis facilities, I don't want people saying, well, look, by doing that, now they're hurting the recreation department and they're hurting the fees.
Very
So
good
you
point.
tie one to the other.
That's a good point.
The funds were available, from cannabis sales for Bayberry Park, and I think that's the right thing to use it, and that's the right way, because I honestly think that that the smoking of cannabis and other things and on the streets and so forth is kind of detrimental to everybody in the community. So to take that sales money and put it in recreation is the only thing that really helps everybody. But I don't want it to be a light item saying that, oh, well, now they're putting a moratorium on cannabis and that's going to hurt the recreation department. I wouldn't
Well,
want it to all go together.
I mean, we go back to square one again, but at the same time, we, whatever monies we find, and that's it, as far as recreation improvements, and maybe by then, some of this money will be coming in for park improvements to the advisory committee to make the improvements that we need, and we can say, hey, look, you can amend that resolution and change it, or whatever.
We allocated money to Bayberry Park. That's exactly what we did.
And two beers.
Yes,
We're
we
chipping
talked
away
about
at it.
a
Yeah,
lot
it's a
more.
chip away.
We talked about a lot more, because every year Ray comes with a list of
Right.
top repairs, top priority repairs and everything.
Your PowerPoint.
And that's just been booted down the road year after year after year, so.
Yes, and the bond, I mean, we've even thought about bonding at the committee. I mean, we really brainstorm.
Well, I talked to our financial advisor about it, and she indicated we should probably, rather than bonding, we would use money from the general fund to do that, because there is money in the general fund to be used for certain structure repairs and improvements. So, to me, that was
That's a
kind of my
alternative.
plan that I was looking
Yeah.
to do, rather than bonding and going out and have to pay it back long term.
That's fine, I'll take the money from any
Yeah,
place,
I
Tim.
know.
He's
But there is
laughing
some-
because we
there
were
are
really
some projects that
brainstorming on
really
this.
need to be addressed,
Yeah.
and they haven't been, so.
Yeah, I mean,
That was
I,
just the plan
I,
we had talked
Tim
about.
knows that, at one point I was considering coming before a town board meeting and say, we're gonna have to start closing down parks because they're just not safe. His budget is just, he's doing everything he can, Ray, to increase what revenue he gets in to make the improvements. If somebody calls or I come to him and say, Ray, we really need this done, it's from borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And it's just gotten to a point where it's almost embarrassing sometimes when somebody calls me and says, I mean, just as an example, Bayberry was a disaster. And that's our policeman's memorial park. That's what, yeah, and, both of them.
Guys got it done.
And Ray got them done, so, I mean, and I have to tell you, working with this department, the recreation department has been a pleasure. They've been very responsive to anything that the recreation committee has ever come to them and needed. Little things here and there that go unnoticed are always responded to, so I thank them for that.
They're a
I really
great
do.
department.
Yep.
We got a picture of Marge in our office now.
Is it autographed,
I thought that was a warning. Look out for this person.
Wanted. Well, I want my office, is what I do. I want my office.
Selling cars out here, she has a used car lot.
Okay, in conclusion then, I'm going to submit the resolution as is, but change 50 to 75 for the community borderline pass. Would that be accurate statement?
I don't want to see the seniors' fee go up. That's my position. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but I don't.
I agree.
I'm fine as
I don't want to
is.
see the senior fee go up. I don't want to see that.
I'm fine as is. Somebody's gonna supplement it. I don't want the rest of the taxpayers to supplement it. And to the point that you made earlier, Ms. Strange, that, there's no problem. And again, this is why taxes go up for people that don't utilize services. It makes no sense to me. So I'm for it as is.
I support it.
Okay.
I'm not here to vote for it, so I'm not going to chime in.
All right, we'll leave it like that.
Jerry.
So,
Well, thank you guys for the time. Yeah, I'll, guys. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Captain Willie, for coming today. And then we'll be in touch with the parking passes as soon as we can, yeah?
January 6th is
Okay. Thank you, guys. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
not the
Thank
word.
you for everything.
Merry Christmas.
Right.
Merry Christmas.
9 to 12:30.
I'm hiding. You're gonna shoot me with a shotgun.
All right, right, I just have a couple announcements before we close open session. And the first announcement is obviously Happy Hanukkah to all of our residents who participate. You're in the middle of the season, so our best to everybody. And a reminder, the town hall will be closed next Thursday for Christmas, and we will reopen Friday, December 26th at 8:30 a.m. And this is our last televised session before Christmas, so we want to wish all of our residents Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Everybody be safe, enjoy, and you guys will be seeing them next year. Oh, we have one more.
Executive session docket and then a first and a second.
Yep. All right. Executive session, we're going to go in to discuss under personnel matters surrounding terms and conditions of employment with STRIPLIN-TIO. Under legal, we have matters surrounding litigation between the Town of Riverhead and CAT with Howard. And we have matters surrounding contractual agreement between the Town of Riverhead and the USGA with HURLEY. So I'd like to, could somebody make a motion to close open session and go into executive session?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Open session is closed. We're now going to go to executive session. Everybody be good and happy holidays.
Happy